Okay, so and ask the students, okay, so you like Japanese and anime or Japanese drama, and okay, so watch and transcribe and make, and you are going to be the teacher. Then they just like do it. So, and I can recycle this project, that is amazingly well done nowadays, and the students are like tech savvy. So, and I can recycle this. So to the college students, or to the kindergarten students, and all levels of the students. So, and I recommend you to use technology for their language learning.
Okay, we have maybe about 5 minutes for questions and answers from our panelists. Any questions or answers? Well, I have a comment. Maybe that you can think about posing your question. One of the things that it seemed to strike me in terms of, especially from a practice base, is the importance of inquiry. In learning about your practice, and what's effective, it has to be based on what kind of goals we have and how do we show evidence of student learning. And it all starts with questions teachers have about how can they be more effective, how can they know that it's more impactful in students, and what's the evidence of student learning. And I think that both Tara and Andrew pointed to that in the research study, and as well in what Tara said about what we really need to focus on in terms of rigor and high expectations for students, and it's really elevating that through the various practices. So I would just pose that back to the teachers in the audience about, we all engage in questions about our practice all the time, and how we continue to augment that and apply that to our immersion classrooms.
Let me just jump in and say one thing I think is important when you do research with kids is they're human beings who are being researched. So we had a sit down, I had a focus, sat them on a rug, all the kids in that group, all 20 kids, at the end, and said, what'd you think? How was the research? And one kid, they said they enjoyed it. It got their minds going. It got them to see, Elvira was talking about metalinguistics, got them to jump in. But one kid said, me gusto, pero sabe que no me gustó ser laboratory rat. And he said that in English, not because, well, maybe he knew laboratory rat in Spanish, but he really did want me to get that he was aware that he was being a subject, and this was 5 months worth of stuff. So that's the downside of doing the research, that it's not business as usual. On the other hand, I'm an applied linguist who feels that if you're going to do research, have a payoff for your subjects. Don't do it at their expense, but with them. So let's throw them into the hopper here. It's not just teachers, which is crucial, but it's also the learners, because it's a partnership. You can be the best teacher in the world, but if the students aren't doing their learning, it's not going to go anywhere. It has to be a partnership. So it's getting kids to buy in, and one way is keep them informed, keep them involved, and we gave them the feedback, and then they gave us some feedback about what they thought about being engaged in this kind of work was like. And Michelle will remember, because she was one of the subjects in my language attrition study. Yeah, I don't know if you were. I know her group was. But, and I have this study here. It was published back in the 70s, but it's just a fascinating. I see her son is here now, too.
Did we have attrition?
And there was attrition. I commented in the opening session. The last things learned were the first things forgotten. You guys got the saddest star distinction by the end of first grade, but then you had those 3 summer months when you were out on the beaches of Santa Monica, and it went away. For a lot of kids, there was no distinction anymore. Everything was sad. And the good news, it can come back. It attrites, but then when you start at second grade, it comes back. But my point I made in the opening session was, yeah, that's all well and good. That's early elementary. What as you get older?
I think I've got it now.
Yeah, see, there you go. Isn't that interesting? But at the time, it was developmental. It was kind of back and forth and back and forth. Yeah.
Can I say something? Okay, I'm going to say something. James mentioned about our practice being research-based, and that is really true. I really think that anything that we do in a classroom and need to be effective in terms of the data that we find in the research. And I was thinking, this session, the teacher strategies, and when we think of strategies, what we do in the classroom, but then I think it's really important to know why they work, why these strategies work. And it's because some theories are behind these strategies and what we do. I was thinking of like being a cook, and I'm not a cook, but if I can cook several, and that's the things. I can cook a few dishes well because I know how to cook them. But, you know what I mean? But I can't apply myself to other dishes because I don't really understand the science of cooking behind it. Like how those things will turn out after simmering for so long, or how long the vegetable will hold after simmering, things like that. I don't know. So I can get confused. But a lot of times I was, and I still am a lot of times, but I guess a lot of times what we make a mistake on is that we know a few strategies and we kind of stick to that, but we don't know why they work. We don't know the science of teaching behind it. And if we know that, and we can sort of do a variety of things according to that understanding of theory. So I think it's important that we be researcher and the theorist in a sense to know why what we do in the classroom work.
I'm going to build on that really quickly and say another thing. One of the projects that I'm working on, I've been working intensely on, is a flat-funded grant to develop our Mandarin immersion programs. We have 5 early total Mandarin immersion programs that are now up to grade 3 in Minnesota. We got a grant to repurpose engineering as elementary curriculum. We're creating these interdisciplinary units. There is nothing like really having to slog out what you think is quality, curriculum that reflects best practice for new budding Mandarin immersion teachers so that they can learn through practice what it looks like. I've had a couple of ahas in this project. One is that we need to ourselves better understand what novice language looks like, what intermediate language looks like, and what advanced language looks like. What I found over many years of working with the immersion teachers and developing curriculum is we have a better understanding of what novice to intermediate is about than we understand what intermediate to advanced is about. So one of the things that we're doing with this curriculum project is we're identifying functions. Let's just take compare and contrast that Mike mentioned earlier. And we're thinking through how would we express that at a novice level, coming up with sentence frames, oral interactional scaffolds. How would we express that at an intermediate level, and how would we express that at an advanced level? Because until we know how we would express that, we're not going to be able to teach that. The other thing is that I've become really aware of is when we're developing integrated performance assessments. Well, our challenge in doing that is we're writing this curriculum this year for 3rd graders. We know these 3rd graders are already at intermediate mid-levels. So we need to go back and describe intermediate mid use of those functions and intermediate high use of those functions. Because if we don't know what language we're expecting, we're not going to be able to elicit it or teach towards it. One of the tools that we've been using is SOPA, and even watching these Mandarin immersion teachers develop their understandings of the difference between word or phrase level speech, sentence level speech, and moving towards paragraph level speech. And what do those 3 things look like, which is novice, intermediate, advanced, right? And how do we map that across different functions? It's making a difference.